Good. Welcome, everyone. First item is to call to order the Lawrenceburg City of Lawrenceburg Board of Works meeting for March 18th, 2019.
Board member,
roll call, please.
Board member Paul Seymour Jr.
Here.
Board member Alan Calloway.
Here.
Police Chief Don Combs.
Here.
EMS Director Bobby Mills.
Here.
City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
City Coordinator Brian Messmore.
Here.
President Kelly Milan.
Here.
And myself.
Announcements? Anybody up here have anything? I'd just like to make one comment so I don't forget to do it in case we did forget to do it in council. Two of our officers, Troy Cochran and Billy Howbig, involved in that high-speed police car chase.
Yes, sir.
You want to give a little update or feedback on what happened there?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I received a letter from the Forest Park Police Department, the chief, thanking the officers for what they did. So, Forest Park was dealing with a young lady that was in mental illness a little bit, and she left the building and decided to take a police car. And she went all the way around the loop of 275. The chase was through Ohio and Kentucky. Ended up in Indiana, across the line. Our guys in Greenville were set up at right after the bridge and before our off ramp with stop sticks, and the lady actually hit our stop sticks, Officer Cochran's and Officer Helbig's. Hit those successfully, and she actually got on the off ramp, lost control, and went down in the grass area and stalled out. And that wasn't enough for her, so she decided she couldn't get out of the car, make a long story short. She took a club that was in the police car, broke out the window, climbed out the window, tried to run. And Officer Cochran was able to get his stop sticks up, get back in the car, and get to the field and get his K9 Kilo out to deploy Kilo. And he was doing that, and he just let loose a Kilo as she was running, and he tripped and fell. It was dark, obviously, cold out, over some stumps. He went in a big hole, cut his head. He got injured pretty good. And our K9 actually stopped the chase, came back and sat right next to our officer. And she was later caught. There was officers up ahead, and she was caught up there. So, but all the officers did a great job, and there was a letter here from the chief of police in Forest Park thanking our officers, and so that's pretty much it.
Always some excitement coming around, right? So we appreciate the job you guys do and all of our first responders, Donnie. Okay, any other announcements up here? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Committee reports. Assistant Fire Chief Rob Chudy.
I have three things, Mayor. One thing is, last 2 weekends I went to Jasper, Indiana, and completed the Indiana State Fire Officer in Health and Safety Wellness through the National Fire Academy in the state. So we get necessary help, write policies and procedures, SOPs, SOGs for the fire department on risk analysis, management stuff. Second thing I have is we sent our full-time firefighter Alex Casey, the fire instructor, to the Career Center, the Proctor State Test for the new guys that are kids out there. Under Chief Tremaine wanted me to let you know that him, and Chief Myers, and Lieutenant Randy Giving Johnson, they left this morning to go use
A new truck? Okay. Good. All right. Anything else? Thank you. Police Chief Don Combs.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I want to talk about cars a little bit. We got our 2 new cars in last week that was on order, and they are now being worked on by the company at our station. He started today, so he's getting those 2 completed. One will be completed probably by tomorrow, and then the other in a couple of weeks. I have 4 Dodge Chargers, and I'm trying to get them out of the rotation, which we're slowly doing. I have a recall on these Dodge Chargers. It's yet another recall. Very unhappy about it, but it has to do with the passenger's airbag. if it's prolonged exposure to high heat, the airbag will work properly, come out, some metal fragments come out. So it's a pretty intense recall. So I'm getting that together. I've called Jeff Weiler to get this recall, to get the cars in.
Okay.
The other thing is we finally, with the help with Mike Abden, he working with the insurance on a wreck car a couple months ago. Officer Lynham, somebody hit him head on. Finally, the insurance has taken care of that, and they're going to give us a check for $23,495 for the value of the car. So, of course, that's not the full price. It's like 2 years depreciated. So, but that's what they're going to give us. So tonight, I would like to ask the board if I can go ahead now and order a car to replace that car, since the insurance is going to take care of that part of it.
The totaled car.
Of course, I had to get some out of my budget to,
For the remainder.
for the remainder.
Any questions from you guys? I entertain a motion then to give Chief Combs the authority to order that car to replace the total police car. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Anything else, Chief?
That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. EMS Director Bobby Mills?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to make a correction to the minutes, Board of Work minutes.
Okay.
It states there that the candidates would be considered part-time paramedic employees. They're not part-time, they're full-time.
Okay.
Typo. Also, for the month of February, we had 159 calls. That's all I have.
May slow down a little bit now since Perfect's closed out.
You know, perfect. We only had 12 left. Well, January, February, 27 calls. Down compared to what has been in years past.
They're getting better at skiing out there.
Getting better skiing, plus, you know, the weather's not cooperating.
Yeah.
Rain and warm weather.
Snow was fluffier. Yeah. Didn't hurt as bad when you fell. Okay. Anything else, Bobby?
So,
Okay. All right, new business, Mr. Todd, fuel pump replacement.
Yes, Your Honor. City garage, we have diesel pump and also a gas pump. I think the lifespan is probably up on both the pumps. Price in front of you is to replace the pumps and actually the card reader stand.
Okay. Any questions?
The second sheet, we've kind of broke those down from the end users for that. I think it's fair to share that. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Any questions up here? I entertain a motion to approve the replacement of the fuel pump.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Thank you. Miss Jenny Felix, got, I think we got 3 people tonight. Pool manager, assistant manager, and the city clerk employee that had been out there for a
Yes.
while. Okay.
Yeah, so there's 2 seasonal positions and then 1 full-time position. So the full-time position is in the city court. It's the clerical A with degree. Judge Johns and I conducted those interviews. We actually had 17 apply. We identified 5 that we interviewed, well, that we selected to interview, but we ultimately interviewed 4. Got that down to our top 2, and then the 2 of us, we completed our hiring matrix to compare the 2, and both agreed on who we wanted to recommend. And so for that position, which is the city court clerical A with degree, that's the full-time position. We want to recommend Ashley Cook for that position.
That's city court clerical A.
Yes, sir.
Ashley Cook.
Yes.
Okay. We'll take this one separate than the other 2.
Okay.
Any questions from you guys? If not, then I entertain a motion to approve the hiring of for city court clerical A, Miss Ashley Cook.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. All right, next.
Okay, thank you. The next two positions, which are the pool manager and the assistant pool manager, we had two people apply, one for each position. Both of them were here last year. So for the pool manager, I wanted to recommend Dee Abbott and then Brandon Abden for the assistant manager. In addition to that, I want to ask for the board's approval to work with them as far as hiring their staff, which is what we've done in the years past. Usually we work together to go ahead and get those people hired.
Any questions from you guys? We can take these all at once, since they're summer help. I'll entertain a motion then to approve the hiring of pool manager Dee Abbott and assistant pool manager Brandon Abden.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? That motion will carry. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Any other new business from you guys? Old business, Mr. Clark, the 2019 Activity Pool and Splash Pad Award.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had the bid opening at our last meeting, took it under advisement to go through the bids. HWC has sent us our recommendation. It's in your packet. They also kind of explained the three alternates. The recommendation from them is John L. Maxwell Incorporated. And my suggestion is to go ahead and accept their base bid with all three alternates. And there again, that's up to the board's decision, but I would recommend that we award the project in its entirety to John Maxwell for $1,248,800.
Any questions?
Before we make a vote on this, Tony, I'd like you to come to the podium because I've been getting asked a lot why we're doing this, and I think you probably know more about this
Well,
pool than anybody.
My wife would actually know more, but our splash pad is just obsolete, and some of it's dangerous. You know, we had one accident there last year, and that part is shut down completely.
How about did you tell me once that the baby pool was filled in and it not in use anymore, or what was?
Baby pool has a constant leak in it, so water goes in it constantly, and the baby pool is just too small. And what we're putting in now will encompass the whole thing and be a lot more room for the people. And the biggest thing is this new splash pad. This is, I don't know the proper word, handicapped accessible to all the kids, special needs. That's a big thing. But it's just basically too is it's just obsolete. You cannot get the parts for our splash pad right now. So if anything breaks, it's done.
Well, I got people asking me questions, and I know I wanted you to kind of be on the record here to state why we've been trying the last 3 years. We've been taking care of a lot of stuff, so that's why I wanted you to make the statement.
This would be a great thing for the kids of Lawrenceburg and surrounding areas, especially for the special needs kids. And there's more room, and it'd be safer for the kids. That's a big thing. A new one will be a lot safer than what we have right now.
Thank you.
Let me ask a question, though. If you look at the deducts on here, one of them calls for the deduct to be from the rubberized coating. Is that the rubberized coating? When we're talking about the rubberized coating, is that for the entire
Just the deck
flat
area,
surface?
deck area around the splash area for the
If it's not rubberized, it would be concrete?
exposed concrete. It's still concrete, but this has a coating over top of the concrete.
Okay.
Is this patchable? And what I mean by that, five years from now, is it repairable, or?
They're telling us, yes, it is maintainable to go in there.
It says guaranteed 10 years, doesn't it?
Correct.
To me, that's a big thing. That's a lot of straight knees and foreheads not affected.
Any other questions from you guys?
I don't have any.
And I get, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid from Maxwell Construction for the activity pool and splash pad.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. I got one additional old business that wasn't on the agenda. I apologize. We had voted, when I say we, council voted to share in the cost of the demolition of the amphitheater up on the levee. That, quite honestly, I don't know that it was ever used. I don't even remember the date when it was put in, to be honest with you. But anyway, Mr. Tony Ackles from Strand is here. He's got the bid award, and he can tell us a little bit more about it and give us an update.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Back on February 15th, the Lawrenceburg Conservancy District received bids and opened the bids. We received 5 bids. The low bid was Logan Creek out of Harrison, Ohio. Their bid was $391,446, which was lower than our estimate. Our estimate was right around $500,000. Matter of fact, 4 of the 5 bids were under that. So I reviewed it with Paul and the guys out the LCD. We find Logan Creek to be responsive and responsible. And what we're here for tonight is, since the city did agree to pay half, we want to make you aware and ask for approval from the Board of Works so that I can award the project to Logan Creek.
So you just need us to, you're going to get it approved by LCD since they...
It already has been.
Okay.
They approved it at the last meeting, so they wanted me to come here and get it approved by the city as well.
Our approval.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions regarding that, guys?
What was that price again?
391?
391,446. So half of it would be 195 something. 90.
You'll get rid of that eyesore.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Every time I go to my doctor, he asks me, when are you getting rid of that eyesore?
Yeah, mine just asked me the other day.
We are going to, just so you know too, we are going to try to, well, we're going to make some repairs to the sidewalk that's up there. If you notice, if you go up right by the parking garage, it's settled quite a bit. So the sidewalk in front of where the amphitheater is now is going to be torn out and replaced as well.
Okay. What's the timing on this, Tony? Give people an idea when you think?
We need to do it during low water season. So right now what we put in the specs is for them to start in July.
Okay.
If for some reason it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but if for some reason it were to dry up quicker than that, we can talk to the Conservancy District and maybe get them started earlier. But right now in our specs, we have them starting July 1st and have it finished up in about, I think, 3 to 4 months
Okay.
before wet weather starts again.
Okay. Any other questions from you guys? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the work to be done on the amphitheater demo by Logan Creek.
Logan Creek, yep.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tony. Any other old business from you guys? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. City Council, when we're seated. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for March 18th, 2019. If we all could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Mr. Richardson, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilperson Tony Abbott.
Here.
Councilperson Aaron Cook.
Here.
Councilperson Mel Davis. Councilperson Randy Abner.
Here.
Councilperson Paul Seymour Jr.
Here.
Police Chief Don Combs.
Here.
Assistant Fire Chief Rob Schutte. EMS Director Bobby Mills. City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
City Coordinator Brian Messmore. City Court Judge Joe Johns. Mayor Kelly Milan.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, announcements, board reports, streets, alleys, and curbs, Mr. Aaron Cook.
No report, Mayor. I've
right.
got a couple.
Tony got something.
I got a couple things.
Hi, Tony.
I've asked before about the dollar store getting filled in, the big hole there, whose responsibility it was, and I was told it was ours, but it's still not filled in, and that's a good size hole. We need to get some gravel in there and do something. And then about a month or so ago, we were talking about holes in the alleys and everything, and I told you there was one between, well, Mr. Waltz's house. It hasn't been fixed yet, and it's getting bigger. It's like a sinkhole.
Temporary mix into it tomorrow.
Okay, that's it.
Where's that one at, Tony?
It's in between Elm and Arch,
Okay.
right behind Mr. Waltz's house.
Okay.
It'll be pretty close to it.
The one there at the dollar store, that's utility code.
I know, but Mr. Utility, Olin, can we get that fixed?
Sure.
Because it's deep.
We've got some concrete we're gonna pour at the Little League. We're gonna have them get that at that time and
That's fine.
get with Olin gets word up.
How soon you gonna be doing the concrete?
Hopefully this week over
Okay.
there for the bleachers.
All right, if not, maybe do something temporarily.
Is this a product of that leak that we fixed over
Yes.
on the apron? Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Tony?
That's it.
Finance, Mr. Abbott.
We're good.
Parks and Playgrounds, Mr. Seymour.
I talked to the superintendent today for the meeting, and he was telling me all the things they had planned for summer on the park, power washing, roofs. Went over and visited the guys on the restroom. They're within days of completing that, so I just want to tell Jamie and his crew, good job for doing that restroom over there. It looks really, really good. And it sounds like you guys are gonna be noticing playground equipment getting washed and all kind of things getting done here early spring. So, good job, guys. And good job, Civil City. Everybody does a good job.
Well, in addition to that, we do, we are looking at new playground equipment up on the hill. And then we'll be looking at any place, start renovating each park as we go, so. But we're starting up on the hill this summer, or this spring, actually.
Do we have any of the bags of the rubber?
We do.
Can we use them this spring? Do some leveling out over at Arch Street?
Oh, yeah.
Just get them used up?
We brought that in, but it was late in the year.
Yeah.
What
and
about
that's
What about the slide pads? We have those in, don't we?
We do have them in, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a bunch of stuff ordered.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should see a lot of activity in the parks. Anything else? Paul? Anything else? Good. Fire, Randy Abner?
No report.
No report? All right, if no other announcements, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Committee reports, Assistant Fire Chief Rob Schutte.
I have nothing to report, Mayor, than what I stated in the Board of Works.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. Police Chief Don Combs.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of State Road 1 work. I received this from the state police. They're going to close Route 1 down on April 1st, right there at Sodden Ridge for 3 months.
Really?
So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Like I said, I received this from the state police. Right there at Sodden Ridge, they're going to fix some slippage there. So just so everybody's aware. Then I've been invited to a town hall meeting Wednesday night for the seniors. That's going on. We have our canine competition coming up. They're in Bowling Green. They're going there next week. All three of my canines going. Jacob, Troy, and Nick are going. So hopefully they'll make a good showing there. We have our mandate training coming up in May. So just starting to get busy this busy time of year. So, and then our wellness training, resilience training at Indianapolis is putting on that we're hosting fire departments this Thursday. So that's coming up.
What time is that on Thursday?
2 sessions.
8 to 12 and 1 to 5?
1 to 5, yeah. Other than that, Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. EMS Director Bobby Mills.
I have no further.
All right, sir. City Court Judge Joe John.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The city of Lawrenceburg, the Lawrenceburg City Court has had, in the month of February, 185 cases filed in the court, which brings us to the year-to-date total of 577 cases. As far as the money collected through judgments associated with court filings, in the month of February, we had a total of $29,635.18 collected. With $11,476 distributed to the city of Lawrenceburg, $5,655.68 distributed to the county, and $12,503.39 distributed to the state, which brings us to the year-to-date total for monies collected by the city of Lawrenceburg's city court at, we're now at the total of $72,851.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Judge John?
I got a question.
Yes.
It's probably been about a year ago now, but we started taking on some other cities' duties there. Is
Yes.
that all working out? Is it costing us money, or are we okay with?
No, it hasn't cost us, there's no additional charge for what we do for West Harrison or the town of Dillsboro. Really, it's the town of West Harrison that's really beginning to utilize us. They're essentially filing ordinance violations instead of traffic infractions, so that they collect the majority of the funds received from that. The town of Dillsboro, I think they're delaying in getting their ordinance violations up and running, just because they've had a new town manager. So we really haven't seen any additional filings from the town of Dillsboro at this point in time.
If this isn't putting a burden on you that isn't working out, we're okay with leaving things the way they are?
Not at all. No, we welcome any new filings.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks, Judge. Okay, if not, got new business. Mike Clark, repeal, replace Title 15. It's an ordinance?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor, this has been forwarded on from the Advisory Plan Commission for council's review and hopefully approval. There is, we haven't revised these since 1995. They were in desperate need to be brought up to speed. Too many new materials and techniques and specifications. We've got that all covered in here. We do have a prepared ordinance, and I'll answer any questions. If not, I'd like to turn it over to legal counsel to go through the ordinance process.
I have questions. Can we know what the changes are, Mike?
Pretty much wholesale, just about pretty much everything, Paul. The first one that we had done, a consulting firm did it, and it was kind of carte blanche. It just was general, covered everything. It also included all of the utilities. It was all in one. That the utilities now have their own, and we're just now getting up to speed to get this put into play, because the old one we have, if we follow it, we'll be in trouble.
And Mike, if you could go into a little more detail. So this specification handbook is intended for the general public. So it explains the requirements of the city. It also contains permit applications. It really walks through anything that someone would need to do business in the city and understand what their duties are. So this is a handbook that's designed to aid in that.
For anything within the public right-of-way. Now, this does not have any jurisdiction over private property or, off right-of-way projects. That's totally separate. But this is basically anything that happens, streets, sidewalks, curb cut. If somebody's, it covers concrete, asphalt, dirt, and then all the permitting. It's got the forms in it. It's got the bond forms in it. So that the private sector or contractors that are working in the right-of-way have all the information at hand right here.
And good.
Question.
Mel has a question.
Yeah, Mike, are we supposed to have an engineering stamp on these drawings?
No. On these, no. These are just detailed drawings on what we require in it. It's we don't need a stamp on these.
And then Mike, how did you go about putting this together? What was the source of this information?
I used our old one as a base. I've had some input from, not currently, but we actually started this back in about '03. Structure Point helped with some of it. Myself, Mr. Todd, of course my tech, John Johnson, Land Consultants has had some input on this. And then after we got it all put together, well, ATC also, but we also had ATC perform a peer review on this to make sure that we weren't missing something or out in left field, and we've made all the revisions, and I feel really good about this document.
And these specifications are the ones that your department actually uses and applies on an everyday basis. Okay.
Right.
And you're saying the utility company will have to have their own, or is theirs?
Well, they have their own details on the trench, the pipe bedding, and all that stuff. Theirs is a little bit separate from that. Now, this still affects anything within the public right-of-way. You have to meet these minimum standards just to protect our streets and sidewalks.
Look, I know we need this, but I don't even know if this could be done, but I'd like to compare it to the old book. I'd like them to, because, my reasoning is 2.5 years ago, we ignored this and accepted a subdivision. Are we gonna get this all together and this is gonna be the law and this is what we're going by? And
no, and Paul, I'm going to disagree. We did not accept a subdivision.
3 Mile Ridge.
Okay, that's not a subdivision. And that's a council action. No, this.
You're right.
They didn't go through zoning or this.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
That's a separate animal.
But this tells us how to put the roads and the curbs in, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Are we going to abide by this compared to the last one? You just pointed out everything I said wrong. However, we did do it. Is this something that needs to be done at this meeting, or could it a reasonable request? I mean, I've got one of the 10-year-old copies. I've had it in my desk now, and it has been a long time. I'd like to look at it and know the changes. And I really don't have the time. Is there any way we could get somebody to highlight one of these books?
There is no highlighter, Paul. Everything has changed so much. We didn't go in just tweak and tune the old one. This is a totally different animal. This is actually what any public works project we put out. These are the specifications that we use. And I will be very frank with you, that old book, I'm afraid somebody, before this gets passed, is gonna try to do something under that old book. And this needed to be passed 10 years ago, not just tonight. So I would really like to see this get approved.
Let me put it this way. You need some time would you like some time to compare this one to the old one?
Well, yeah, or, yeah, and I'd like to talk after the meeting. I got a question.
I mean, and, you know, we can, we'll get it approved at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's fair.
Fair.
Because I want to do
You guys
some
okay?
reading.
That way they have time to compare it, and then if they have any questions between now and the next meeting, maybe go and talk to Mr. Clark, and then we can highlight them at the meeting.
Well, this was at planning and zoning, and they've okayed it, and they've studied it and everything. If we've been waiting 10 years, I think 2 weeks is fair. I just need a little more time. All right?
Then I'll entertain a motion to table.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. All right, Mr. Weldon, peddlers and solicitors ordinance.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. If it pleases the Common Council, what we have before us is a proposed ordinance, which would be number, Diana Richard has a number 3. Okay, this would be proposed ordinance number 3-2019. This is a ordinance that would repeal and replace the current code provisions and essentially create a new structure for what are called itinerant merchants, peddlers, and solicitors. So one of the main driving forces behind the drafting of this and the passing of this is food trucks. So with the opening of our park, we hope that we have a lot of food trucks and food carts and people participating in the selling of food on a temporary basis. In order to best serve the citizens of Lawrenceburg, we do need to have some protections in place. What we have had in the past, if you think about the fruit sellers that set up in front of Johnny Nugent's Tractor Supply, they had to go through the application process under kind of the old regime, and we've kept those most important parts. So anyone seeking to sell food to the public in any way, whether it's through a temporary stand or a food truck, or whether it's just kind of out in the open at a festival or a fair, let's say, then they would need to obtain permitting through the clerk treasurer's office. They would apply for that. There would be a background check conducted, and then there would also be a health check. They're required to go see their primary physician and obtain a certification from a doctor saying that they have no communicable diseases. And this applies to the person in charge and then anyone handling food for that organization. They bring that information to the clerk treasurer's office. They obtain a permit, a pass, which they must then display. And what this does, specific to that portion, which that would fall under the itinerant merchants section of this new code section, that strikes a balance between their ability to come into town, do business. It's not overly arduous. It doesn't create a barrier to them doing business in our city, but it does create the minimum protections that we feel are important for our citizens. If someone's going to be selling our citizens food, then this is a way to ensure that everything is safe and done to the highest level of protection without, again, blocking or creating impediments to those sales. So that's what are called itinerant merchants. You'll see on the second page the definitions. A peddler is someone that would travel from place to place and sell goods without a temporary stand, like a food stand or a food truck. So this would be, someone selling Avon products or vacuum cleaners door to door, something like that. So this is someone who's selling products but doesn't have a temporary stand or structure to do so from. And then finally, solicitors fall into two categories. One would be a solicitor for a for-profit organization, and another would be a solicitor for a nonprofit, so someone raising money for a charitable purpose or maybe a religious purpose. So that's broken down into two categories. The solicitors for the for-profit part of the code, they must adhere strictly to a notice provision. And what the notice provision says is that anyone who, you've seen businesses that say no solicitation, those signs. Anyone who has a no solicitors sign on their business, this applies to solicitors, and they have to follow those signs, adhere to that policy, not call on those businesses. If they do, then they could be cited in city court. So this is really an endeavor that is a joint venture between our building department with Diane and Carl, and then our city court with Judge and his staff in terms of enforcement. There's an application process, there's a review process, then there's an enforcement process. If anyone breaks the rules, they can be cited into court. There's also an appeal process. If they feel that they've been treated unfairly, they can come before council. So there is an appeals process, which we feel is important in terms of fairness. And then finally, what you'll see on the last page, really the last 2 pages, that applies to the non-profit solicitations, and this sets up a time and also location for these persons to raise money. So you'll see that nonprofit organizations can solicit charitable funds on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m., and they do that at either the intersection of Walnut and Tate Street, Walnut and Center, 2nd Street and Front Street, and then Walnut and High Street. So this is a wholesale change to the current code section. It repeals and replaces, takes that out and puts this in. So this would be the entirety of the law in our local ordinances that applies to internet merchants, peddlers, and solicitors. Yes, sir.
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Does this apply, the food selling, does this apply to nonprofits also?
That's a good question. It would. So if a nonprofit were to seek to sell food, then they would be considered an internet merchant regardless of the final purpose of the funds. And that's just important to be able to apply the health considerations.
Okay. Second question. Does this apply to Girl Scout cookies also?
The Girl Scout cookies, we don't want to take all the fun out of this process. So a Girl Scout cookie, put me on the spot, but that would be a peddler because they don't have a structure. And if they went door to door and at my law office it said no solicitors and the Girl Scouts did it anyway, then I would call Chief Combs and they would arrest the Girl Scouts. No. So door-to-door peddling would all be subject to that same provision. What I would say is for Girl Scout cookies, they would want to invoke the final provision, nonprofit solicitors, and they would be at those marked locations from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Then they could be there in a safe, secure manner. We know where they are. Police department knows where they are. That way they can sell in our public areas. Again, this is because we're the city government, this only applies to the public areas. So that provides a safe place for them to do that. We know where they are. We know what time and location.
What about like during Fall Fest? There's some vendors that only sell water, not for profits.
I would say that we have to be careful, of course, and with any law of general applicability, there are exceptions that can be sought. So at first blush, I would say if you're selling any food or beverages, you should fall into the same category. However, if someone felt that, okay, we're just selling water for nonprofit, we don't feel like we should have to follow all of these processes, then they could appeal to the Common Council and ask for a variance from this requirement. And then Common Council could grant that to them and say, they could just get on the agenda and say, we plan to be a Fall Fest just selling water. Common Council could vote and say that we vote that you're exempt from this provision and you don't have to get the health requirement or the background check.
All right.
We'll go up here first, and then I guess the audience could.
Now, on the
however your honor pleases.
On the solicitor part, does that exclude, like, if a religious organization were going soul winning door to door, inviting people out to church? They're not included in that, correct?
That's correct. So religious groups are specifically excluded.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And that's just by function of the definition. We're not selling anything. But that's a good question that came up.
So should I have Janelle call you in the morning about the Fall Fest stuff, because she's already sold booths? I mean, there's already some sold.
I would think so, Mr. Cook. I mean, that's a good question. I just think that, and that's good because then we could work with Janelle, and the sooner we do it, the better.
Okay.
But that's how I would envision this working out, and it really isn't that long of a process. You know, they just go see their doctor, they give us the notes. So the sooner the better on that.
Call you or call Richard or who should I have her?
Suzanne probably.
Okay.
Suzanne already does this with some of the other people
Okay.
we have come into town. So the process is already kind of rolled out.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's the fee for this? I didn't see a fee structure.
That is a good question.
It's something
The
about
background check, sorry if I may interject. The background check is $15 and that's through the state, and that's how we run it. So it'd be $15 per person or per owner.
And then,
The fee is actually whatever council decides for the registration fee or the license. It would be up to you guys on how much you want to charge.
Okay, let me ask one thing about the background checks. Some of these people are doing this for the nonprofits. They've already had background checks. Like anyone from the school that has anything to do with kids, they have to have a background check. Are those acceptable to this, or do we have to make them do a city background check?
the way it's structured in two things. One, in terms of the fee, so we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Diane and Richard, but we have a set fee for the background checks and for the green
business
cards.
license.
What are the cards we give to the
Well,
taxi cab or the
that's
businesses?
$5. For a taxi cab is $5, but the business license is $50 for the license.
Okay.
And then the background check is $15 per owner of the company. So that's what we would charge.
So that would be, we would need to figure out what these licenses should cost. That can be left, that's not included in here, that could be left up to the clerk treasurer because they're just recovering a cost for their services. As far as the background checks go, I would prefer that just everyone do the same thing. It just makes it easier. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Abbott, but our position just in drafting this would be everyone comes to the clerk treasurer, they do the health check, they do the background check, and that way it's all done in the same place at the same time.
Your Honor, I've got a question.
Yes.
Part of this is the health piece of it. So in instances like, say, the utilities wants to do like a customer appreciation and cook hot dogs and burgers, things like this. We're not charging anything for that, but we are prepping food. I don't know. Is there something we need to be thinking about?
No, so you wouldn't fall into any of these categories because you're not selling food for profit or even selling it at all. However, any actions that we would take as a city or through the utilities, we would be ensuring the safety of that function through our general liability insurance.
Okay. I just
So,
want
yeah.
to make sure.
Yep, so that would be exempt, but we are covered in a sense because we do extend that safety to the community. Mr. Abbott, did you have another?
No,
follow-up
I'm just
question?
I'm
Okay.
just sitting here thinking about Fall Fest. I think this is going to cut out a lot of the booths, the volunteer booths, because those people that are working them, they're volunteering their time to come and work it for the kids. They're not going to want to do a background check again, which they've already done at the school itself. And there's other booths. It's not just the school. There's other ones.
Well, and some of those booths may have 20 people that's rotating through that week, you know, those 3 days. I can't imagine all 20 of them coming and getting a background check.
So are they selling food at these
Yes.
booths?
Some of them sell food.
And that's the money being raised, it goes to
It's
the school?
it's like for dance, dance competitions. They're part of the sports of the school, but they don't get any money from the school for their sports, so they can only do outside
Right,
activities
okay.
to make money for that. Miss Canoe, like Aaron just said, she sells water there, and I'm not sure she sells shirts and things too. So now everybody that works for her is going to have to get a background check.
Well, and I would say that this is a great discussion, and I think everyone has an example of, how does this fit with this law? So if we could, maybe we could table this, and I could talk to everyone on council individually. I'd also like to talk to the Fall Fest committee, and then if anything in here would need to be tweaked to fit those situations, we can find a solution. But that's a great discussion. That's why. That's the exact discussion I think we should have.
Well,
I like that
and
idea.
also like during Fall Fest, all of the vendors that the fair guy or whatever you want to call him has, we'll never get background checks from all of them.
Well, yeah, and so again, there's got to be a balance that you strike between.
Run for the border.
Well, we want everyone to feel safe. You know, when they buy food, they want to. It's nice for them to see the little card and know, okay, that means they got a health check and a background check, so I'm confident that this food is safe, or as confident as I can be. So we want to provide that service to the citizens, but also not make it so difficult that people can't serve the food. So I think there's a middle ground that we can find.
Yes.
Two things. One of them is could we make there be a responsible party for each particular one, so it would cut down on the amount? And the other question I got, Donnie might be able to answer. How much time and effort is involved in the background check?
Well, actually, they do it through the state, right?
Yeah, we do it at the clerk treasurer's office instead of LPD.
I mean, how big a deal is it?
Explain that.
It's pretty quick, yeah, I mean, we can get it back within a day or two. It's
But
just,
I mean,
and it's,
if I came in and asked for one, what are my inconveniences?
it's just a form we have, just like our new business packets, I don't know if you've seen those, but it has your social security, if you've been, had any felonies or anything on your record. I think I've never ran them before, but this is just how I understand them. It's a very basic background check. I don't really know how.
But if I come in, am I gonna spend an hour?
No, it's a very easy form.
Your name, date of birth, social security number, things like that.
Yep.
They do it, they take it, they probably send it to you, now just do it and you leave.
It's very quick. You'd be able to actually leave, and then we would call you and say, hey, everything's good. And then you would come back, and yeah, it's $15, like I said, per person, however many we run it on, just be $15 per person.
And really what we're looking for with the background check is not, you know, did you have a DUI or something? Is there anything concerning in terms of maybe bad checks or something where we wouldn't feel comfortable with them interacting, you know, with business transactions with the public? You know, we're not looking for everything that could exclude you, but just anything that would concern us in terms of financial issues or things like that. That's why it's important.
As far as background checks, maybe we could just do it on the for-profit vendors, but the volunteers, maybe we could skip that cost for them, because the volunteers, they're all going to be local anyway, and everybody knows them, and I don't see the reasoning for a background check for that.
And I think I think we're going to table this tonight, but I think the solution we'll find, Mr. Abbott, is that we'll have a section of this that's specific just to volunteers. And I think that's justifiable, and that's a good result, is that we'll have a section just for volunteers, and we'll treat them in a way that'll help them accomplish what they need to accomplish with also having some minimal requirements. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Clark's raising his hand. There's also going to be a portion of this that goes before planning and zoning that's specific to food trucks, because with food trucks and temporary structures, there's a planning and zoning element. So there's also going to be a kind of a sister provision to this that planning and zoning does, and Mr. Blondell is drafting that with Mr. Clark.
Blondell's kind of authored that. It should come in front of you guys at the second meeting in April. It's got to go in front of Plan Commission first. And one thing I will tell you, though, any public event that has a state A&E permit are excluded from the zoning requirements. So a lot of your questions
those are
there
excluded then. But also, Dearborn has to inspect all the food things too, don't they? Dearborn County?
There's a county health inspector that can do that.
So they got to do a lot of steps just to sell food.
Well, the issue is that with someone that's so temporary, they're just coming in for one event. This isn't, I mean, I would encourage everyone not to really think about Fall Fest. That's its own beast, and that has a lot of fundraising elements and a lot of temporary vendors. What we should think about is when we have the park open and some people are coming from Cincinnati with food trucks, because that's why this originated, because it wouldn't be useful to call in the county health inspector for someone that's just going to be there for a few hours. So what could we do minimally to not interfere with them so that they wouldn't want to do business here but still have some health requirements, and we can do this better locally.
So you're saying if we pass this, then they don't have to call Dearborn County Health Inspector to inspect their food truck when they're there?
Their requirements would probably, I can't say for sure, but probably be from wherever they're licensed to do business as their primary home. So if they're headquartered in Cincinnati, I'm sure they have reporting requirements with Hamilton County. They're just coming to us for a couple hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Table it.
I'll make
To get a motion.
table.
Motion to table the peddlers and solicitors ordinance. Get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Economic Development Commission.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. So the Economic Development Commission is actually an organization that we have already formed and has been in existence for some time. We do need this to be active, however, now as part of the funding for the Flaherty & Collins housing project. The Economic Development Commission consists of 3 members. One is appointed by the mayor, one's appointed by the county, and one is appointed by council. We talked about this a little bit at the last meeting. The mayor has an appointment. The county actually deferred, so the mayor will appoint their person, and then we just need one appointment from council. So this time I would ask for someone to propose an individual to serve on the Economic Development Commission, and then a vote to confirm that person.
So this is Richard allowed being on there?
Yes, there are no residency requirements or no restrictions.
Okay. What is their purpose, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, so the Economic Development Commission in this context is a county-wide entity. That's why the county can have an individual involved. It extends beyond the statutory framework of the Redevelopment Commission, and so their particular purpose in this project is very limited. However, it is necessary that they be involved in the property transfer, the forgivable loan, and then the main reason is because of the property tax implications. Our deal with Flaherty & Collins involves a property tax floor where they've guaranteed us property tax income. So that's why the Economic Development Commission is necessary, and they'll just be used for that purpose.
Is that just for that one project only?
Essentially, yes, sir.
So it's a.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll have a meeting on April the 1st. The Economic Development Commission will have their first meeting. They'll do an organizational meeting, and then they'll go right into a meeting specific to the housing project and carry out their function then. So we just need a nomination. And it can be anybody.
I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Richardson to be on the board.
Second?
Well, first of all, do you want to be on the board? Would you accept it, Rich?
I would accept, yeah.
Well, when you nominate them, you don't ask them if they want to be. They're just nominated.
So do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Next item, we got calendar bids that were, I guess, put out for bid, and we got 2 back and need to open them tonight. What I would suggest is the calendar is split 3 ways. LMU a third, LCD a third, and the city a third. We've got a committee that worked on it last year. It was somebody from utilities, somebody from LCD, and somebody from the city. And I would say that after we open these and we can determine, and you'll hear the pricing and such, that we let the committee go out and do their research on, we obviously know who the low bid is. So I would just say that we would then turn it over to them. Is that acceptable?
Agreed.
First one I have here is from Kreider Photography. It says, there's a letter here. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but the price is, it says total cost to the city of Lawrenceburg of $9,985. And you guys can have a copy of this letter as well. like I said, we'll let the committee review it as well. The next one is from Register Publications. It is for a total price of $6,102. And they enclosed a sample calendar. Like I said, I think I would rather have those three folks that worked on it this year decide who they're going to work with, and then make a recommendation back to us, if you're okay with that, since it's three different three different entities. You okay with that, Mr. Clausen?
Oh, yeah, fine.
Okay. Mr. Seymour, LCD, we'll turn this over to them. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So we will, we won't approve the calendar person tonight. We'll let them come back to us with a recommendation. All right, next thing is, in your packet, you got the donation committees. Donation committee had one this month, I believe. You see that for the Lawrenceburg High School Fishing Club. Any questions regarding that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Youth Council, I don't see anybody present tonight. I'll give a little update. They are going to the statewide Mayor's Youth Council meeting with the General Assembly on April the 8th. I believe 10 or 12 of the 15 folks are going to be able to attend that. They'll go up for a day-long event up there, watching the general session and participating, and then working with other young people around the state. So they'll come back and give us a report of how that went. I think it'll be very entertaining and very insightful for them. So let that go. I have no other new business. Anybody have any new business?
I got one question for you.
Yes.
We spoke earlier, a few of us did, about the 3 homes on Arch Street and the water in the yard. Do we need to vote on that, or can we just
We get it done through maintenance.
just get it done? Okay.
If everybody's okay. I mean, what it is was fixing a place where the ponding occurs.
Right.
Right. Okay. Bunch of water.
It's
Behind the
hardly
tree.
even going away. I mean, it's been there all winter.
Okay.
So,
All right. Yep, we'll take care of that. Anything else on new business, guys? The only old business I have is Dale from Maxwell. Wants to give us Civic Park update.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
Uh-huh.
Just a quick progress update. We've started pouring concrete on the south end of the park for all the sidewalks. We are continuing to do some finish work on the stage canopy. On the north end, we've installed boulder wall and quite a few of the boulder outcroppings around the north end of the park. Also started doing some of the electrical posts, lamps, and the speaker assemblies on the north end. And then lastly, we are this week starting on some work on High Street, getting the curb line set in between the two park areas. Other things, we are still on budget, and we're still good with our schedule.
Good. Still looking good to put some sod down in April sometime?
Yeah, be the end of April, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we should be good.
Anybody got any questions for Mr. Salhorst?
I noticed you put some of the ceiling up in there.
Just a mock-up, yeah.
Just
yeah.
a mock-up. That's what it's kind of hard to visualize how it's all going to look. At the end of the day on that, are we going to have any type of like accent lighting that shows that off? Because it's kind of up in there a little bit.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a, I don't know what they call it, an LED light that's on the beams that's supposed to uplight to show that.
All looking good. Good job. One thing that was brought to my attention, and I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I think we're a little behind the 8 ball. Are we gonna put a committee together to name it, or what are we?
I'm open to that. I mean, nobody's ever thought about a name, but it had been brought up before.
Yeah, it needs to be addressed if we're gonna do any type of iron work on it or anything, cause it's been mentioned to me, and I just wanted to get it in your wheelhouse there, so you can either put something together and we can figure it out. It
Yeah.
needs to be done pretty quick.
Maybe, put the park committee back together, and, if anybody wants to join up, we'll put the word out. We'll have something on that for the next meeting, and, if people wanna be a part of that, we'll let them do it. Sound good? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Dale.
thank you.
Any other old business?
I've got a couple requests.
Gotcha.
I really want a meeting on our properties that we've just got back and the ones that we have. So I didn't know, I'd like it ASAP. And you might already have it scheduled, cause I asked last meeting. And the other thing is I'd like a meeting, I don't know where it needs to be, executive session or not. I think it does for legal. I'd like that as soon as possible too. I don't know how long it takes to advertise one, but I'd like to try to get it done this week.
Both of those meetings this week?
Yeah, let's do them both.
I don't know about that. We'll see. All right.
Now I'll say
We'll
this,
need-
try to avoid Thursday night, I got a meeting.
Now you handicap
So that gives you an
Now
excuse
you
not to have
handicap
it this week, and I'm all right with
I
that.
vote we have it on Thursday night.
There you go, I knew you'd say that.
We may need a little bit more information on the legal part so we know how to advertise.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, anything else? Anybody got any other old business? If not, comments from the audience. I'll do that twice because I forgot last meeting.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
My name is Regina Reibold, and I happen to be the HOA president of the Walnut Square Townhouses Association at the end of Walnut Street. I received a letter, and I just tonight want to make sure that council is aware of the recent legal situation that we found out that we have with the city. I think it can be easily resolved, but I wanted to be sure that everyone knew. I had received a phone call at work in January from Mr. Blondell from the Pillar Law Group, that in a nutshell, that the common areas of the HOA were never legally transferred over. So we legally own the building, but we don't own the common grounds around the building.
Are you talking about like the driveway areas and stuff?
The driveway areas, the grass areas, the walkways leading up to the units, all of that is owned by the city of Lawrenceburg. It hasn't been legally transferred. But anyway, he did write me a very nice follow-up letter, and I'll read it because it's very quick. Dear Ms. Reibold, it was my pleasure speaking with you on January the 23rd of 2019 regarding the status of the condominiums. At that time, I explained an issue exists regarding the common areas of the condominium units. Pursuant to the original deed, once all the units were sold, the city of Lawrenceburg was authorized to transfer the common areas to the condo association. The city of Lawrenceburg would like to expedite this transfer. I do not know at this point what led to the investigation of this, but he did find out that these weren't legally transferred, and I believe that this has been 8 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. You and I discussed the issues that I understood Bill Ewan was the prior condo association attorney. That could very well be true, but we all know that Mr. Ewan is deceased. I can contact that law office, find out if they've got any records. My main concern is that in order to transfer the common areas, the condominium association may prepare a resolution and prepare an amendment to the declaration, which are recorded in the recorder's office. I prepared a simple deed transferring the common areas of all units as identified on the plat for signatures, entry, and record. I suggested that you contact the Condominium Association Council to discuss the procedure for proposing a resolution and amending the declaration with the recorder. Will you please contact me once you have had the opportunity to discuss this matter with council and let me know if I can assist you with any process to expedite the transfer. Please call if you have any questions. So, the other, the thing that I want to talk about with you this evening is, number one, we can't find any signed covenants, and I don't know if the clerk's office would have any signed original covenants that would have been done by Mr. Cunningham and Jackie Stutz.
You know what year it would have been?
I'm going to say
Roundabout.
2010.
We can check.
2010, 11, in that neighborhood.
We can go in and look.
Okay. And there are also no signed covenants signing those over to the association. And I would say that there would need to be. Would you, Dell?
I'd have to talk to Mr. Blondell. This is his project.
Okay. Okay. So if I could get signed covenants, something, documentation, because no past presidents are able to give those documents to me because they can't find them. They don't know that they ever had them. Number two, we're going to endure legal costs to do this. We have an operating budget of $24,000 a year, and this is an unanticipated expense to the HOA. I don't know what that expense is going to be, so I'm not asking for any money at this point to help us offset this, but maybe between the city and who we obtain. I'm going to contact Ewan's office first, but I would also like to go to Eubank Land Title. I think that that would be probably a good avenue to go to as well. I don't think just using your Pillar Law Group would be in our best interest. We would need our own legal counsel. And third is we have been maintaining this for 8-9 years, and that's been a cost to us of $5,000 a year. Again, I don't know from the past presidents if there was just an assumption that this was going to get done and it slipped through the cracks, but I'm probably going to come to you and ask that we reimburse for that expense that we were out for 8 or 9 years, and I could give you receipts to do that. But tonight was to make you aware of the phone call that I received and the letter that I have, and if anybody would like a copy, I'll make sure that you get that. Is that right now the common areas are owned by you. That is your legal assumption, not the HOAs. So I think it's in the interest of both of us to get it transferred right away.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Do you want it?
Well, we definitely would. I mean, because it would be up to the city. Right now we have control of when snow's removed, when the grass is mowed, you know, when landscaping is done, if there's a bush that needs to be replaced. That should be the responsibility of the HOA, not the city of Lawrenceburg, unless you want to assume it.
We've got a few areas like that, and I don't want it. You want it, Kelly?
No.
And I think we just need, in other words here, we just need to work hard at working this out and getting it off the list.
And again, I don't know how it slipped. I don't know what the disconnect was, and I don't know really what generated the phone call, how it was caught.
No, and I do. I know everything about this project. I mean, right now is not the time to have that conversation, but I'll fill all you guys in, and we should be able to take care of this pretty quickly. You won't have to incur any legal fees.
Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
no problem.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir. Nice of you to let her go first, though.
I ain't talking about that crap. That's
Yeah.
Not even
You
sitting
know,
together.
we were talking about, I'm Bob Reibold. When I go to all these schools over the state of Indiana, I walk in the front door, they scan my license on a background check. It takes no time. So I don't know what they have, because I was just down in Tell City. I typed in my social security number. You're good to go. And I think Lawrenceburg's set up like that too, that when they take the picture. So this day of filling it out and sending it to Indianapolis, you know, maybe you could use one of the schools to say, hey, this Friday or whatever. But I just give them my license and they run that.
Really?
That's how quick it is.
Just scan your license?
Yeah. And I put in my
Like a
social security
legitimate
number.
background check? It's a
I don't know how it would be set up that quick. I mean,
I don't know how
so far I'm about 300 for 300, so I haven't been denied yet. But you know,
You must look okay, Bob.
yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Well, you have hamburgers, so I mean, they let you right through.
But you know, I mean, with it being a school, you'd think that, I mean, it's got to be a legitimate background.
Yeah, it just amazes me how quick, because it's the first time they run it. So you can check it down schoolwork, so that takes no time, and it takes less time to run a credit card.
Something we get with Mr. Gailey about.
I don't know.
They
if
not
do it.
actually do a background check when you do that. They do that, and then they give you the photo ID.
Yeah, they give me a sticker that said, well, the lady said I
That
was
way, if
okay, a
something
picture
happens,
of me.
I think they just get the photo ID for you, saying you're allowed in there. And if you do something while you're in there, now they got all your info from your
Yeah,
license.
so,
I don't
but you
think
can
they
check
actually
in it
run a
and see
background
that,
check.
whatever.
Okay.
And the next few things, and I know we harped on this, you know, the park looks beautiful. And is it going to have a water that squirts out? Or is that? It is. Okay, so that's going to be.
Bring your Speedos, Bob.
JTM speakers. Why I'm pickleballing it. The apartment that caught fire, we know all this crap. You just hate to see the summer hit, and people drive down there to get excited about our new park, and what do they see? Blue tarps.
It's in the process.
Is it in the process?
Yes, sir.
And the building next to it that was condemned, is that in the process?
What building's that?
Is that the old Moon Funeral Home?
The old Moon Funeral Home.
Oh, down the street. That's.
I just want to see it, you know, if they come down there and don't see that, because a guy at Strong said the other night, that thing's been blue tarp for a couple of years, but as long as that's, all right.
Moon Funeral Home, I heard they were trying to get some federal grants or something, Bob, and that's not a building we would really want to tear down. I mean, I don't even know if we'd be allowed to tear it down. That's pretty
on
historic.
our historic inventory.
Yeah, it's on the historic inventory, so yeah, unless you want to go behind bars, you're not going to tear that down.
But there is a solution. We've been working really hard on that property and finding creative ways to make sure that it's either restored or at least made safe to a state of repair that looks good for the community. So I can tell you the Moon Funeral Home is certainly on our radar with the building department, with redevelopment. We're doing everything we can for that building. As far as the La Rosa apartment complex, that has to be down by April 1st. We have an agreement with the parties, and we're basically done with permitting. We had a hearing on that matter.
And the park is looking awesome.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, that's all.
Thanks, Bob.
And Mrs. Reibold, I would say that I just wanted to check my calendar. I have a meeting scheduled because I talked to you after the last meeting. So for March 27th, and we had to move it, 9 a.m., a meeting with, we have a team meeting at my office to discuss the townhome project. I don't want to get into it in detail today because Mr. Blondell's more involved than I am. But this is a project that we worked on when we first came into office. So I can tell you we've been working on it. The fact that certain things weren't recorded when they needed to be was a function of several factors. So we'll go through that internally, and then we'll reach out to you and bring you in if that's acceptable to you, and we'll work it out. Yeah, and thank you very much. I appreciate you talking to me after the last meeting and your presentation today, so thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, if not, next item, we've got one claim outside of the normal claims. It's for the Dearborn Adult Center through the Public Facilities Grant. Is an invoice for Rezo Engineering for $4377.11. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve that.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and then need a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? That motion will carry, and then a motion to adjourn.
You think we can look in getting these guys a bigger desk? They can fit in?
Why, what's wrong? I think it's fine.
You got Brian sitting here on the outside.
He's little.
Brian doesn't need any space.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Be safe going home.
Richard.